Good afternoon, Muscle Car Corner here at McCacken with Hemi Eddie. We spoke about yesterday with his Spencer's Dodge. We did a video on what he did with that car as far as restoring it. And we're going to talk about this really neat AFX Galaxy here and a special car. So, Eddie, good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Appreciate your time, sir.
No problem. I appreciate spending time with you. I mean, you're passionate about these videos and what you do, and I think it's a wonderful thing because, you know, without people like you, maybe some of these stories never get captured on film and all that. So I do appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate that. That makes me feel good. That's why I'm out here, just trying to get the story and let everybody know about these cars. And your workmanship is amazing. I've been around the business for many years. I looked at what you did over there. I'm just in awe. So I'm looking forward to hearing about this AFX car. Tell me about it.
So what's kind of cool is the owner of it, Nick Smith, we met from a distributor I sold to somebody that he needed it in a hurry to go into a car. He was selling it at an auction. Nick bought that car, went to the guy who sold it at the auction and said, hey, who would know a lot about these? And of course, that was a Dodge, another Dodge, a different story. But the guy said, you know what? You need to talk to Hemi Eddie. I formed a relationship with Nick Smith that ultimately I did between 17 and 18 cars for him.
Wow.
Some of them are full restorations. Other of them were major cleanups on components that were not up to Nick Smith standards and all that.
Gotcha.
This Bobby Martin, Jerry Alderman Ford 62 Lightweight was one of those cars. While I didn't touch anything on the body, the paint, the lettering was already done, and the blue interior is already done. The chassis and the underneath was far from what Nick Smith wanted. So we basically lifted the body off the car.
Gotcha.
And off the frame rather, and we completely redid the frame, making sure it was done with the tape that held on the body bumpers and everything else like that, and putting all the paint dabs back on it. And it turned out to be a pretty fascinating car to do, only because there was a Muscle Car Enthusiast magazine article on the car, and it was factory lightweights, muscle in black and white. And the cool thing about that magazine article is I had the white car in my shop, and I owned the black car at that time, my black A990. Probably the biggest mistake I ever made doing any of these cars. I had the white car in my shop, and I had the black car up on a lift in my shop. And I never took them down and put them together to take a picture to say they were there together.
That's neat.
And, you know, I did that with other cars. I mean, like I said, while it's not about the 62 Ford, I had the Barnett 67 4-speed car and the Barnett 67 automatic car, W023 cars in my shop. And we did get those together. One was kind of restored and the other was in the process of being restored, but we got those pictures taken together.
Oh, neat.
And, but yeah, so anyway, the 406.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the motor on this thing. That and the aluminum is the big deal. You know?
So the hood, the fenders are fiberglass, the front bumper, and these inner panels are aluminum.
Are they? Wow.
And so it was a 406 cubic inch engine, the only one they put that air cleaner and carb assembly on it. It was strictly a race car.
Real quick, I've never heard of a 406.
Yeah, it was one of their engines back in the day. You know, the 352, the 406, and then the 427.
Okay.
You know, it was that period of engine with the gold valve covers and, you know, the high performance.
I thought it was a 427. I don't know as much about the Fords, but that's really neat. Yeah, look at the detail on the motor on this. I tell you what, I mean, it looks like the valve covers have been wet sand and buffed. You know, the paint is just amazing. All the correct plating is on everything. The aluminum intake looks like brand new.
Yep.
I mean, look at the finish on this. What did y'all use to paint these items, or were those NOS pieces?
No, they were all painted. Boy, that was now you're going to test my memory on that, because, boy, I think I did this car in maybe the 2008 time frame.
Oh, really?
So that was, you know, you started looking at that now, and that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
You know, I mean, some people were born and can drive cars right now, and that's when I did this thing. Once again, it was whatever it needed to be. We focused on those details. You know, the copper master cylinder cap, all the other platings, making sure everything was together, and then just making sure that the finishes on everything were as good as they could be, because that's what Nick wanted. Nick wanted the cars to look absolutely perfect, and that's what we did. And you know, I remember when we did this, we did have the front clip off it because it didn't come off with one thing. Fiberglass, very heavy fiberglass,
really?
Very thick, heavy fiberglass. Yes.
You wouldn't think.
No, you wouldn't think, but it's. I mean, look at it. I mean, you got the hood supports on it. You got the whole. You got all the structure it needs. No, it is. It's fiberglass.
Fiberglass.
Yes. So it was, like I said, not a major overhaul rotisserie, but you know, basically, other than paint and interior, everything else was done to it. You know, all the brakes, putting the markings on the brake shoes and everything else like that. We did it like it left the factory and was freshly raced. Now, the cool thing about this car, it is the Jerry Alderman Ford car, and Bobby Martin drove it. I also did the number 12 Thunderbolt for Nick. It was the Little Emmett car, also a Jerry Alderman, Bobby Martin car.
Oh, wow.
The cool thing about that is about a year and a half ago, I get a phone call from a guy named Travis Alderman. Travis Alderman is the grandson of Jerry Alderman. He said, hey, if I'm ever in Indy, I bought my grandfather's Thunderbolt back. It's in the Alderman Motors showroom in Indy.
Wow.
I wanted to come down and spend some time and talk about the restoration on that car. That car was supposed to be here. Travis had some last minute commitments that he could not back out of. So unfortunately, that car wasn't here, because
Gotcha.
I would have liked to have seen both of these cars together.
Oh, that would have been neat.
You know, up here. Plus, there was one more car that I had my hands in, and that car, it's my wife's favorite car. They made a die cast of it. It's probably in my top 3 cars that I've ever done.
Really?
It's
neat.
that nice of a car.
Wow.
And it was a Thunderbolt. While I am Hemi Eddie, growing up, all my die cast was always Dodge or Plymouth. Nope, I have 4 Thunderbolts in there, growing up from a little kid. So that meant a lot to me. I did the number 12 car and I did the number 50 car.
Wow.
The cool things about some of these things is, you know, trying to find the parts and all that, especially on the Thunderbolts. I needed the aluminum RC bell housing with the NHRA dust inspection cover on it. And there was a guy local to me that had it. And I called him and said I needed it. He did not believe I was doing the number 12 car. And it took a couple phone calls. And as soon as he found out I was doing one of the real cars, he opened up his parts warehouse basement and provided me about 5 or 6 of the parts that I needed. So, you know, one car leads to another, and you know,
well, it's word of mouth.
It is word of mouth.
When you got the type of talent you got, you know, it carries quick. So real quick, what's in this motor? What's the compression ratio, cam? Do you know any of those specs?
You know what? I don't, because
Gotcha.
you know, all we did is we detailed everything.
Oh,
It was
okay.
already together, and for the most
they're
part,
a healthy motor.
yeah. Oh yeah, very healthy. Yeah, it'll put some tire down on the ground.
It's 405 horse,
Yes.
and let's take a quick look at the interior, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's take a look at that neat looking. Now, what did they do in the inside? We talked about Spencer's Dodge. What did Ford do to lighten these up? You know, I see they have all the door handles.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it
didn't-
was a production car.
Basically, okay.
Yep. That's the
4-speed.
production interior.
What tranny is that? Is that a top loader, 4-speed?
Yes.
Gotcha. Borg Warner. Well, it's a neat car, and looks like you did an unbelievable job with it. How did this thing run? Did you ever drive it?
Oh yeah, I mean, probably one of the most cool things, and the things that I get the most appreciation of. I do get to drive everything that I work on. While to me, it's the customer's car, it is not mine. I don't hot rod anything. Occasionally,
You have
put a
to
little
turn
tiny,
it on
yeah,
occasionally.
we get on it a little bit, but nothing where you would say you're ever beaten on it, because once again, it's not my car, it's the customer's car. They own it, and it's in my care, and it's not going to leave my care with any problems with it. So, like I said, the hot rodding or beating it, no, we never really did any of that.
Let the customer do that.
Maybe let the clutch out real quick just to see, but not
smoking tires through the
tire.
gears.
No, I mean,
you know.
I can't send it back with tire marks, tire rubber on the quarter panels. So,
Well,
so while I has some very impressive, very high horsepower cars, I don't experience them like they have because once again, they're not my cars, right?
do you ever have one of the customers say, "Hey, it's broken. I'd like for you to revisit driving this car, and we want to go out and thrash it"? You know.
Well, okay, so
I'm sure that's happened.
on the one Hemi Satellite that I did, they wanted me to put a couple 100 miles on the car, and I mean, a beautiful Satellite. It was here, huh?
That's some fun miles.
It would have been. I couldn't. Once again, I couldn't do it. I put about 25 miles on it, just to have the confidence that everything was going to work and everything was going to do well. Well, they took it and they did their own little special tuning on it. And when I went down to deliver a car to Florida and pick one up, they invited me over to their house to go for a ride. And I must say, it was a pretty impressive ride. Thank God he missed second gear, or he might have hit the truck because of one pulled out in front of us.
Oh,
he was
my
on the
God.
binders. Good thing about that, the car stopped straight, stayed in the lane, but it got kind of hairy because we were in third gear when the guy pulled us. If we wouldn't have missed second, we probably would have been a little further down the road.
Oh my gosh, that could have been
disastrous.
Horrific,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
You don't want that to happen to a customer's car, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. And you know, it's not me driving, maybe not even the other, but where my shop is at, there's a lot of deer. And you just never know when one of them's going to roll themselves across the road and you run into them. And
Scary stuff.
It is, you know, I mean, I know the car just sent to Switzerland, sat very low to the ground. And with Michigan roads, I was not going to drive it and risk taking something out. So I had a phone call to a phone call. I got to the M1 concourse and I was able to drive it around the perimeter of the grounds, not on the track, just to put some miles on it before I did send it to Switzerland.
Wow, neat.
Yes.
Well, this is a neat car and we've got some more to look at. We'll go ahead and end this video and move on to the next one. I sure appreciate your time, my man.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next one here shortly.
All righty, thank you very much.
Stay tuned.